something special inside you.
Welcome to GNG Podcast with your host, speaker, best-selling author, Chaz Jackson.
Yo, what's going on, kings and queens? It's your boy Chaz Jackson coming back to you once again, representing GNG Gift and a Gift. Hey, I personally just want to take the time to tell each and every one of you, thank you for giving me your eyes and your ears once again as we ready to dive deep into some inspiration that I pray will plant like a seed in your mind and assist you in becoming a greater version of yourselves. So episode 28 is going to be a powerhouse. My man Keynon Lake is in the building, ready to bring some value and serve each and every one of you. Whether you're plugging in as a teacher, parent, coach, youth advocate, pastor, whatever source that brought you to listen to us, go ahead and let us know that you're here. Share this out to anyone that you feel is going to be able to resonate with the thing, my daddy taught me that. And I'm telling you, go ahead, get your pen and paper, get it ready. There's going to be some value given. And you know, if you have been tuning in with GNG Podcast, our motto is we're all gifted differently to make a difference. And I know there's, again, a ton of difference makers. We have an amazing one that's going to be coming on and sharing. And I just want to go over the mission statement of this platform for my new listeners. And just to remind each and every one of you that has been tuning in to GNG Podcast that we take the daily challenge of becoming a passionate visionary who is determined to leave a legacy for themselves by adopting unwavering life values and serving others in an area of gifting led by God. So that's the daily challenge that I'm taking. I inspire each and every one of you to take that challenge with me. And my man, Keynon Lake, he is a published author, speaker, and he has a nonprofit organization, MDTMT, a youth development program designed to support young men through advocacy, education, and mentoring. And he is live on GNG Livestream podcast. My man, Keynon Lake, are you ready to get it, champion?
Oh, my brother, thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. I am ready. I am totally ready.
My brother, thank you for blessing us with your presence. I know that was short what I read off about yourself. Is there anything else you want the audience to know about you?
Oh, man, I just, I'm just thankful to be here, man. There's so much that I could say, but, I just want to say, I'm just blessed and grateful to be alive, to be here. It's a lot of people who are, we know the climate of our country. We know that, a lot of people are dealing with hard times, be it the loss of a loved one, the loss of a business, the loss of a job. And so, I'm just happy to be here.
I like that. And I know you've done a lot of things in the community, being a published author, being a public speaker, pouring into young men. That's something that GNG wholeheartedly is passionate about, reaching young men and applying values for them to take right now to help themselves, people around them, but more importantly for the next generation to come. So can you just share your story of kind of where all, the gifts that you're pouring out to your community and to the world in 2020? How did that start? What is your story behind all that?
Man, so, I've told this story 1,000 times, but I know your viewers have never heard it. But, I'm going to make it short and sweet because I think where we're headed is actually way more important than, where we got started. Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. But so, I was blessed, man. I was truly blessed to have a beautiful, loving family. I come from a 2-parent home. Robin Lake was my mother. She's still here with me today, and she's still alive. My dad was Benny Lake, bless his soul. He passed away 10 years ago. And so, I was blessed to have 2 parents, man. And I grew up. My dad played with the original Harlem Globetrotters, and then he also worked with for the Juvenile Evaluation Center for 30 years. My mom also worked at the juvenile center for 20 years. And so it wasn't much, I could do and get away with it. I had two parents that worked, in the judicial system for juveniles. And so I had to, walk it kind of straight and narrow. But no, I had great parents, man. And so, their only child, I was blessed to have family in Asheville, North Carolina. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up at. I played basketball, and that was my life for a long time, and went on and played college basketball and tried all the NBA and overseas stuff and all that good stuff. But God had a different calling on my life, and so while I got my degree, I graduated from the University of North Carolina Central. So if there's any Eagles out there, what's up? But that's right, NCCU. But when I graduated, I got my degree in sports medicine. I had no desire, no aspiration to be a social worker. My dad was a social worker, and I saw him coming home and having to work late and do this and do that. And I said, you know what? There's no money in it. I don't want to do it. I want to do something different. But like I stated earlier, God had a different plan on my life, man. And so, looking back, after attempting to play basketball, I needed a job. So I started working with Buncombe County. At the time, it was Buncombe County DSS, Department of Social Services. And so I started working there doing family and children Medicaid. I did that for almost 2 years. And then they needed more social workers to work and deal with neglected and abused kids. And so, again, not knowing what I'm doing, not knowing what I'm getting into, they needed more men. And they kept asking me to be, apply. Several people kept saying, several supervisors kept saying, you need to apply, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then finally, I kind of, after probably about 6 or 7 months of just listening to different supervisors tell me to apply, I finally took it serious and looked at it. And I said, well, they make $14,000 a year more than what I'm making now. And so when I applied for the wrong reasons. I applied because of the money. But again, there was a plan. And so I started doing social work, and it was the hardest job that I've ever had to do, dealing with neglected and abused kids and going in and out of homes and taking custody and stuff like that. But, I didn't realize that God was preparing me. God had used that platform to prepare me for something different. And so, again, my degree wasn't in sport, as a social work. I had a sports medicine degree. I did not want to do social work, but here I find myself doing social work. And so I'm doing social work for like 5 or 6 years, and my dad passes away. He passed away in 2010. He passed away on my birthday. Wow. And so it was unexpected, didn't know it was going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But, I ended up, it was a real devastating blow to my family, to the community. I started to write an article to the newspaper. Like, I'm going to write this article to the newspaper to find, not only to talk about what my father meant to me and my family, but what he meant to the community. Mm-hmm. And so when I was writing it, a good friend of mine who was a friend through my dad, he owns a publishing company. And he read it. He said, look, if you write, 5,000 more words, you'll have a book. Wow. And then the light went off. And it was like, wait a minute, I can write a book. And then it was like, wait a minute, I can write a book not only about my dad, but what he and I both engulf. And so to really help people. And so I started thinking about my job as a social worker. And it's like, and so it was really kind of prophetic how it happened. It's like my dad passed, but, for years I've been doing social work. And one of the biggest things that's always bothered me was going in and out of homes and not seeing any men in homes. Mm. And so, statistics and studies, after I started really diving into this work, they'll have you believe that this is a black and brown thing, that only black and brown men are not taking care of their kids. Well, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, where we make a very, African Americans and, Hispanic, we make a small percentage of the population. And so it didn't matter whether I was in, the inner cities or the so-called hoods, or I was in the trailer parks, or, whenever I was with these families, the majority of them had no men in the household. And I'm like, that's not right. Like, I was truly blessed to have a great dad, a great mom, but a father who took really good care of me and my family and showed me how to do these things. And so, as I started again getting into the statistics have changed. It got worse, actually. But back in 2012, it was 13.7 million single families in this country. Right now, today, is 15.9 million single families.
Wow.
So 15.9 million single families in this country, 84% are headed by single moms. So what that tells us, if we have 10 kids living in a single parent home, 8.5 of those youth are not being around or raised by positive male role models or figures or parents. So it just bothered me. It's like, well, what are you going to do? I had a lot of information in my book, a lot of scenarios and a lot of stories that I actually personally had to deal with as a social worker. And one of my good friends read the book and said, bro, you got some good information, but what else are you going to do? And so I had a passion to work with youth my whole life. And so, I said, you know what? I could start working with these young men to really teach them, the unwritten rules to be a man, the things that are not told to you or said to you, but, you gotta get it from other men, or how to carry yourself, how to conduct yourself. But at the same time, the pipeline to prison was coming about, and it was real, so it was almost, again, prophetic of how I started my program in 2012, right when the pipeline to prison was gathering and getting our kids at an alarming rate. So then it was like, well, not only can you start teaching these young men how to be men, what's expected of men, but you can also start, preparing them for the future and keeping them out of the penitentiary, keeping them out of those systems. And so it just fell into place, man. 8.5 years I've been doing My Daddy Taught Me That. And started with 8 young men. Now we have over 80 young men in the program. The program has been so successful that we started a female version called My Sister Taught Me That, where my wife, Leslie, she runs that program, and she has about 60 girls in that program. And then we have a junior program, My Daddy Taught Me That Junior. So the main program, we deal with young men, and we work with young men ages 12 through 19, grades 6 through 12. The junior program is ages 6 through 11, grades 1st through 5th. And so really being able to extend the program, I mean, I'm sure we'll have a little bit of time later in the program. I'll talk about the program itself and how it runs, but it's been a true blessing, man. It's been a real blessing.
Boom. Thank you so much for diving even deeper, sharing your story. Dude, you're a phenomenal guy to be able to, God bless Benny Lake, your father, for pouring those morals and values, showing you the standard of how to lead and be, that male figure that all of our young men need around them, that mentor. And, you being in social work and seeing all those different circumstances helped equip you to be where you are right now, dealing with those experiences, going out to those different households and really understanding how much male mentors are needed in our community. So, dude, I just want to say thank you for all that you do and what you're doing here in the future, moving into 2021, man. That stuff's phenomenal. Thank you.
Well, let me say this, and I say this to everybody. I truly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it, but it's not me. I mean, it's really not. To be all honest, God has allowed me to have this platform and put me in position. I think we do a great deal of things. And again, once I start talking about the program, we do a lot for our youth, but, to be quite honest, I learned probably more from them than they learned from me, and then, I'm a big kid at heart. So it's easy. It's second nature. So I gotta give God all the glory, because it's all him. He's allowing me to have a platform. I'll say this. When this program first started, mind you, now I'm still a social worker. To this day, I still work for the county. I've been with the county for 18 years. So and I've been doing My Daddy Taught Me That. This July will be 9 years. So for almost 9 years, I've been working 2 full-time jobs. And so I don't get paid to do My Daddy Taught Me That. And I've never gotten paid to do My Daddy Taught Me That. But before we are in this platform, I'll share a piece of information. But the first couple of years, I ended up spending like $20,000 out of my own pocket. And again, I'm a social worker. I didn't have that funding, but we only had 8 to 10 kids, so it was doable. But I say that to say, God has allowed this program to flourish and grow. We are truly a grassroots organization. We don't have any. Actually, I take that back. This past summer, we had our first paid position, and that's from one of our youth. His name is D'Angelo. He actually runs our pod. So we have a pod for virtual learning, and kids come to our school. So and he runs that. So we've been paying him since this summer to run the pod. Well, actually, since school started to run the pod. But You know, he's our first paid position. We do have a couple of contract positions. We have a mental health worker who does mental health for our youth and kids. And then we have a gentleman that we contracted to do a leadership program for us. But other than that, you know, we don't have any paid positions. But we do a lot.
What's the pod part? Is that like a group or?
So what we did this summer, we actually made national news this summer.
Congratulations, man. That's good stuff.
Thank you. We actually started 6 years ago. We started our jump. I'll break it down. Let me go back and then I'll go forward. So the way our program works is like this. It's the curriculum I developed. So 2 to 3 days a week, we have what we call men discussion groups. The kids call it program. So from 5:30 till about 8 o'clock, we meet in the evening time, you know, Monday, Wednesday, sometimes Saturday, just depends. But mandatory 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week. During these men discussion groups, we feed our youth. You know, they get about 30 minutes to eat. And then the next 2 hours is really programmed. So we have this men discussions about everything from the privatization of prisons, third grade reading test scores, how to tie a tie. We have men who come and talk to our young men, you know, about, again, those unwritten rules and, you know, those things that we do and we teach. We have women come to speak to our young men about what women look for, how to treat women, how to deal with women.
Wow, I like that.
STD, STI prevention. We train, you name it. We want to teach our kids what's happening locally, statewide, nationally, internationally, and just have real conversation with them so that they can understand, you know, that first of all, this is how you conduct and carry yourself. Secondly, you know, as long as you're breathing, you're going to make mistakes. But when you continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, that's not a mistake. That's a bad decision. So how do you make better decisions? Also, we spend a great deal of time, you know, talking about, you know, the pipeline of prison, the penal system, you know, how that system is intentional, particularly when you're talking about our Black and brown kids, you know, that. So how to avoid the trap, you know, how not to fall victim. You know, we talk about we cover everything. The beauty about our men discussion groups is that it's not just myself or the volunteers they're preaching or, you know, speaking down to these kids. It's an opportunity for their voices to be heard. So we have a great two-way street. And like I said, you know, I learned, you know, just as much from them as they learn from us. You know, one of the biggest discussions, one of our more recent discussions that we had, we're talking about women. And so, you know, we're talking to these young men about how to treat women, how, you know, to be respectful. And, you know, one of the young men break out and said, Mr. Keynon, you know, I hear what you're saying, but you're a little older. You know, like what you're talking about.
Like that, huh?
Yeah, you know, like what you're saying doesn't apply. He said, well, what are we supposed to do when, you know, these girls are sending us news in class all day, and then, you know, they start at 9, 10 o'clock sending us news of themselves, and then they're telling us, you know, they want us to meet them in the bathroom, and we don't go to the bathroom, then we're gonna be looked at soft, or she's gonna tell us. So what we do in that situation? And I'm like, wow, like this is different. Like we didn't have that problem. You know, with cell phones, we didn't have to worry about that when I was coming through. Plus, you know, according to our young men, these girls these days are a whole lot more aggressive, and so we have these conversations. You know, we talk about what to do, what not to do. You know, I like to use the phrase iron sharpens iron. So really being able, again, to prepare these young men. The next part of our program is what I call life-changing events. I'm a native of Asheville. I was born and raised in Asheville. This is my home. But Asheville does not give a true depict about, you know, for diversity. Really being diverse and showing our youth diversity. So we take our kids to Carolina Panther football games, you know, Charlotte Hornet basketball games. Pre-COVID, 2019, we took 40 kids to Selma, Alabama, where we walked across the Pettus Bridge, shoulder to shoulder with Jesse Jackson. You know, 10 feet in front of us was Hillary Clinton and Cory Booker.
Wow.
The year before that, we took 40 kids to New Orleans and, you know, to the Whitley Plantation and to the museums and Xavier University. You know, you name it, you know, Atlanta to the museums, but really being able to expose them to different things off this mountain, not only, you know, so they could see how other people and other nationalities, other groups live, but so they could see how people who look like them are living too off this mountain, you know, how other people are doing. So, you know, we make sure that we, you know, the mindset behind our life-changing events is if they can see it, they can achieve it.
I
The
like
next
that.
component is our grade tracking. Really, Asheville, North Carolina, with all the great things that it has, we have the fifth worst achievement gap in the country. So, really being able to help alleviate that, help try to solve it, change it. We have tutors for our kids. We talk to our kids' teachers and counselors. And, really trying to put our kids in a position to where they can thrive academically and not fall victim, to, what's happening out here. And then finally, we have a job training program. So we, with our relationships and with everything that we have, I can get a kid a job at McDonald's or Zaxby's or wherever, Burger King, teaching those kids how to go to, not only to fill out the application, but to, how to dress when you're doing an interview. But we took it a step further, and in I think it was 2014, we started an in-home job training program where we partnered with an electrician, a carpenter, a plumber, and a painter. That summer, we had 8 young men. We paid them $10 an hour to do 100 hours, so 10 hours a week to learn these skills and trades. Well, over the last 5 years, it has exploded. So we got a grant it's called the Merchant Grant. The Community Service Foundation gave us a Merchant Grant. And so now instead of 8 young men, we have between 30 and 40 of our youth going through our job training simulation throughout the summer. So what we do, we have all the skills that I just named, but we have photography, carpentry. We have landscaping, car detailing, computer coding. We have 15 young men who was working at the WNC rescue mission. You name it, really being able to plug them in those different fields. And then they get their $10 an hour for 10 hours a week to learn those skills and trades. The reason we made national news this summer was because 2 years ago, I had a young man who was struggling academically, bad. And he kept saying, Lake, a lot of the kids call me Lake, or, but there's Lake, I want a job. Can I get a job this summer? So I said, well, you can get a job, but what I really would love to have happen is if you could get paid to be tutored all summer long. Like, that would be your job. And then it just dawned on me the year later, like, why can't you do that? That might be awesome. So we wanted to do it last year. We couldn't do it. We partnered with the Asheville City School Foundation, and this year we made it happen. So we had 17 young men with four teachers this summer. And we know that, in the summer layoff, our Black and brown kids have a harder time. Right. Well, we had two summers this year. Kids stopped going. So they did the virtual learning starting in February, and then half of them didn't get on that. And then we had our regular summer. So to really try to, keep them from falling too far down the hole, we had 4 teachers spend, basically like really, really small groups. Some of the kids got a lot of one-on-one. It was so awesome. And the kids got paid their $10 an hour to do 3 days a week, 10 hours of academic training. And so it ended up making national news because people never heard of, paying kids to go to school. So, but as a result, that started the pods, which we're having now. So the Asheville City School started pods. So, there's 22 pods set up across the city of Asheville where kids go to these places to get on their virtual learning to have more academic support. And so we're one of those pods that so as a result of that, we started the pods for the entire county.
That's awesome. That's awesome. MDTMT, my daddy taught me that. I feel like that organization is a true hope giver to our young people, right? And that's the first thing that popped in my head. It was hope giving. And obviously those kids have a choice, but, the people that I truly remember the most, whether it's coaches and teachers, mentors throughout my 33 years of being on this planet, there's not one of them that I can't say that didn't give me hope or wasn't passionate about what they did. That's what stood out to me. It's funny, the most 2 passionate people that I encountered as far as back in my younger days was, my senior year when I got injured. I encountered a physical therapist. Thought my football career was going to be over, but he installed hope back into me. He said, Chaz, if you listen to me, you do everything I tell you to do, I can get you back to playing ball. And you know what? He got me back. And fast forwarding 5 years ago, he popped back in my head, just for example, because of the hope that he installed back into me, because of the passion he had for what he did. I found myself doing what he did. and Keynon, and when I hear your story, I know there's going to be young men. Obviously, you installing your organization, installing hope into them, and I'm I'm speaking in existence, but I know there's going to be some of those young men that's going to be doing exactly what you're doing, mentoring, speaking life into other young men, and it's going to be, reciprocating into the next generation. And hopefully that makes sense for the audience and for you, is being that person of hope and passion and being committed to what you're doing. Like you said, man, you've been doing this for 9 years and haven't received any funds back from it. So that shows your passion, that shows your commitment, that shows that you are authentic hope giver led by God. And like I said, man, that's giant, man. And you're leaving your footprint in these kids, their parents' lives, and that's good stuff. What you're doing with your organization, and I know that there's a young man that's potentially listening right now, and he has an absent father. He's, dealing with some family members that's been incarcerated, or maybe even been through the juvenile centers themselves, or had family members that been dropping out of high school and haven't finished. Um, I believe that we're all gifted differently to make a difference. Is there a tip or technique that you can give that young man that's listening to you right now, for him to keep striving forward, even though he has all those obstacles, or potentially one of those obstacles that I just mentioned?
Certainly. What I would first of all say this. I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm not one that's going to sit down and just beat you over the head with the Bible. But I am a firm believer in Christ. And so what I would tell, anybody is that, first of all, you need to make sure that you have a relationship with, our Lord and Savior. Secondly, this is the thing. I said this earlier. There's no such thing as a perfect person. There's only one that walked the face of the earth, and we all know who that was. That was Jesus Christ. Outside of that,
Amen.
you're going to make mistakes. So, there's two things. First of all, don't be afraid to try. What I found is that our youth and just us as people, we are afraid of failure. And so it's like, you're going to fail in this world. You're going to, that's what makes you, first of all, makes you stronger, but it also builds character. It makes you determined to be a winner. If you think about it, you think about anybody, and I mean anybody that's successful, unless you come from a person who had a silver spoon and your parents were filthy rich. Look at the greatest basketball player to ever play the game, Michael Jordan. He got cut his ninth grade year. Imagine if he would have gave up, after getting cut, we would have never got a chance to see, the greatest basketball player ever. So,
Exactly.
my thing is, don't be afraid to try, like at least put forth some effort and try, whatever your dreams are, whatever your goals are, try. The thing about it is this: if you don't succeed, what are you hurting? You're going to still be in the same boat that you're in now, but you didn't try. So at least try. You can always go back to what you're doing. The other thing is this:
Exactly.
I always tell my youth, these young folks, they feel like, and this was said to me when I was younger too. Like, you guys are full of vigor. You feel like this can't happen to you. I can run through a brick wall, but I tell my young folks, don't get too high, don't get too low. There are gonna be days when you're like, man, I want to give up. Days, this is the thing. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Dude, I'm telling you, everybody would
If it
do
was
it.
easy, it'd be a whole lot of people doing it. So your journey and your struggle is what's going to solidify you and solidify your place in this world. And if you give up and you're not afraid to work, you're not afraid to struggle, you're not afraid, you're afraid to like work hard and feel that burn, then you're never going to be successful in this world. You're never going to, and this is the last thing I'll say. Stop looking to be comfortable all the time in your life. You're never going to grow. You're never going to grow unless you get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable sometimes. Take a step out of your comfort zone. Take a step out of your norm and try something different so you can grow and learn and see how other things work. And so, that's what I would tell our young folks watching today.
Hopefully you took my advice and got that pen and paper. You just gave some value right there. And that last one, all of them was valuable. That last one, becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, is what I normally say, and that's so true. I love that analogy that you use. It's kind of like that weight room. Like you keep lifting that same exact weight every single time you go in the gym, you're gonna stall out. You're not gonna see any results or results you're really chasing. You got to keep, progressing and put more weight on that bar to grow and getting uncomfortable, get sore, turn those fibers. Like, yeah, you got to put yourself in those positions and getting around good people like yourself, mentors who are going to nourish you and not drown you. Use an analogy of water for relationships, right? Getting around people that's nourishing you, that's iron sharpen iron, like you mentioned before, in the book of Proverbs, and just, allowing yourself to grow, giving yourself a chance, making that choice to, hey, I'm going to chase after my dreams and goals, and I'm going to surround people around me that's going to help me make that dream a reality. For sure, for sure. And dude, thank you so much for diving deep on that. I know there's somebody that's listening right now saying, hey, I want to check out more information that Keynon has to offer. Check out MDTMT. My daddy taught me that organization, and learn how I can be more involved. Is there any way you can share your contact information with the audience?
Certainly. So, you can always go to the website, which is www.mydaddytaughtmethat.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is we have a My Daddy Taught Me That page on Facebook. I have a personal page, which is Keynon Lake, and then we also have two pages on Instagram. We have a My Daddy Taught Me That page on Instagram, and we also have a My Daddy Taught Me apparel page. So we have a clothing line where we sell merchandise. We got hats and sweatsuits and hoodies and shirts and stuff. So you name it. And so we have a full line clothing line that you can go and check out and order some of our merchandise.
Dude, boom! Again, God is definitely using you. You are an earthling vessel who is a conduit and allowing God to manifest and bring heaven to earth. Hey, thank you so much for yourself, your organization, everybody that you have involved with impacting our youth. And I know my audience, they were so blessed just to have you in their presence. And I'm sure they took copious notes. And I'm telling you what, I'm going back. I took down some notes myself. I got my piece of paper right here. I done took down mine, and I look forward to listening to it and learning more from you. And I definitely resonate with what you're doing, Keynon, and definitely, I pray personally that me and you, we continue to strive and grow stronger and stronger together. And just know you're always in my prayers. And again, thank you for blessing us on episode 28 on GNG podcast.
Well, let me also, return the sentiments that I truly appreciate you allowing me to be on your platform. This has been awesome, man. Brotherhood is real. And so I greatly appreciate that. I also would like the time to thank the people who make this possible. I have a loving family, mother, wife and kids and friends, and then even the volunteers from the My Daddy Taught Me That program. And so, we have great volunteers. We have about six volunteers. I don't want to name them all because it'll be too long. But then I also want to take time to thank everybody who supports the My Daddy and My Sister Taught Me That program. This would not be possible without the support that we get from the community and from individuals who really take upon themselves to donate, whether it's finances, time, resources. We truly, truly appreciate it. And we look forward to doing some wonderful things. The tidbit of information that I was going to share was after 18 years, man, with the county, I took a leap of faith and just turned in my resignation 2 weeks ago. So I will be doing My Daddy Taught Me That full time.
Congratulations, man. That's amazing.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. It's been a great journey with the county, but God has put it on my heart to do this full time and really see how much more I could pour into this organization and how far we can get. So,
dude, you are a giant. There are going to be so many, males, young men, parents, teachers, coaches is going to be standing on your shoulders, led by God, going to be able to see further than they would have if they didn't come in contact with Keynon Lake. And my daddy taught me that. Dude, that's amazing. I'm definitely going to be uplifting, keep you in prayer, that God will
Thank you. I
continue
need
to
it.
give you
I
more
need it.
clarity, more focus, more consistency on whatever he sees fit. I know, again, you've accomplished so much, but dude, I can't wait to see how this next decade going to be, man. It's going to be,
Right.
I'm sure this whole thing going to expand, and God's going to get all the glory and on the back end and all of that. So, man, congratulations. Thank you for sharing that with the
Appreciate it, my
audience.
brother. We'll be in Texas in a few years.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Most definitely.
That's what's up.
Yeah, we got to get it in Fort Worth, man.
That's what's up, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
listen, man. Again, blessings upon you and your platform as well, man. I hope that you expand this, and that your family does well, and everything, man. And we'll definitely stay in touch, my brother, for sure.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm going to lead us out real quick. I told
Gotcha.
each and every one of you Keynon Lake was going to bring some amazing value. I want you to stay up with GNG. More episodes coming soon. I want you to remember 2 things. Keep that crown on your heart. And please remember this. We are God's echo.
Thank you for listening to GNG Podcast. Remember, you are gifted differently to make a difference. Please visit ChazJacksonSpeaks.org and let's continue to grow together. God bless.
Oh, I love each and every one of you. Peace.